2020 Tantra, Crown Tantra info in the description. So, we were born naked, obviously. So that means we should be somewhere that's warm, that can house a lifestyle of little to no clothing. So, imagine a world where you don't have to rush because you can just walk the earth, move with the seasons or move with the warmth, stay within the light of the warmth, move wherever you need to move, laterally, however you want to look at it, whatever direction, whatever your theory of the earth being flat or round or whatever. You're still moving with the warmth of the seasons, and you're not forcing anything to grow because there's abundance, because you're not trying to stay in one place. People get out of shape and then they want to stay in one place, and then they want to cultivate an area, and they want to create boundaries and borders. Because again, if this wasn't a prison, you'd be able to leave from country to country and go wherever you want, whenever you want. For the most part, prisons are built to make people feel, on the outside, feel like they're not in prison. But let me digress. Again, the body is a prism, so you can take that for what you want. But anyway, imagine a world where you can just move with the warmth, just like the birds fly south for winter. It's the same thing. Imagine if you could just walk without being rushed, because you have really infinite days. There's no concept of time. There's no 9 to 5. You don't have to work, to force things to happen. You just go follow the path of least internal resistance. So with that said, you're following the warmth, you're staying with the seasons, and you move about. You're constantly moving because you're walking. And if you should eat, if you do need to eat something, it's not a cultivar, it's not a cultigen, because the world has stopped cultivating. They've stopped forcing things to come into existence. They've stopped selective breeding. Everything. They just let the world do its thing, because you can't do better than nature. So just allow life to happen. So if you let life happen and people could walk the earth with that fearlessness of that the ultimate will is your true will, then you can move with that without that fear, and you can move in that state of not needing. That's really about it, because it's the issue is the karmic returns. People have issues with the karma. It's as soon as you take from something, it has to take from you. If you give from some, it's the whole process of anything that takes will anything that takes gives equally. Anything that gives takes equally. So it's all just reminders. The food doesn't give you energy. It reminds you of your energy. So if people were not compromised, because that's what the food is doing, it's compromising the alignment. The spinal alignment is being compromised once you take on food and water that you don't need. So that compromises the breath, that shallows the breath, and you take more and more shallow breaths. Shallow breaths are essentially pieces of one whole breath. So your life is in breaths. So if you have your whole breath chopped up into little breaths, then you have a bunch of little karmas, a little back and forths, because karma is dictated by the breath, which is dictated by the universal breath. So if you're in alignment and your spine is in alignment and it's not bogged down, and the blood isn't in the lower parts of the consciousness, because again, if your blood is in digestion, then your consciousness goes into that place. So then your breath is more shallow because you created more of a boundary. There's more water on the belly. There's more food in the digestive tract, because the digestive tract is going to process vibration one way or another. You just choose the density in which you want to live off of. So as people went outside themselves, the further they went outside themselves, the more you need to chase. The objects appear further, the more you reach outward. The more you go within yourself, the deeper you go, the deeper you become, the deeper the mystery is. And as you take the steps on the path that is created as you take the steps, it's less fear, because everything supports itself. Life supports itself. You just have to allow it to. But if you have people that are living in fear and want to control things, because that's what the chemical substance is. When you're taking substances, when you take any substance, any kind of food, anything you take in is a substance. So you're taking that in, and that's the illusion of control. That gives you that idea of being able to control things through the perception, the human perception. but everything that gives takes equally. So it all has to return. It's just, are you going to come back fragmented? Like the Taoists would say, like you're basically pushing your consciousness into the mineral and plant kingdoms as you focus on those things, as you focus on the material world like that. But if you accept that you are the consciousness and then you just allow life to flow, then you just walk through this eternity, this physical eternity. You just walk through it. It's perfect. It's constantly giving and taking. It's constantly waxing and waning, but the flow is perfect. So as soon as you try to control it, then something is going to control you. As soon as you try to have power over others, then you're not focusing on yourself, then you lose power over yourself. So as soon as you try to have power over the land and have power over plants and animals, then you're losing power over yourself. So that's the exchange you give up. That's what you give up to take that, to have that illusion of dominion. So you're just really outsourcing your will and energy. So just imagine that, a world where you could just walk up and down with the warmth, little to no clothes, totally in faith, because Fei is iron, which is the blood. If you have total circulation or blood flow, total vitality, because your vital signs are your breath and blood, basically the heart. If that's uninhibited, then you could just walk at your own pace, sleep at your own pace. If you even need to sleep, you're just infinite consciousness. You're pretty much just going from the looking outward at the external light, at the external pineal gland, to closing your eyes, looking at the internal light, living in there, letting the outside hologram recharge, and then toggling back and forth. And then you just live in infinity. So just imagine that kind of world where you could just walk around and instead of needing plants, you just interact with them. You exchange with them through the breath or whatever. And if you do ingest them, you'd be so present for it through the whole process of it that you wouldn't need to do it multiple times. It's the same thing with the vaccine logic. As soon as you get exposed to a chemical, your body can then, it learns how to recreate that chemical. Like people say, you take a vaccine to learn how to fight off a disease for the rest of your life. It's the same thing with food. You eat a mango one time, you know what it's like, you know what the texture is like, you recreate that alchemically, you can take that into a dream and fulfill the body, but the body has to be totally present. You know, the breath has to be totally present for those memories, for you to go back into that memory and for it to be as fulfilling to where it's at the point of nourishment or Neidan alchemy. So that's a totally different state of being. And of course, all levels of the tree of life will eternally manifest, and you'll always have your seekers and you'll always have your source or sorcerers. So it is what it is. And you know, life is perfect. It's a perfect game board, or however you want to look at it. So I'm just saying there are people that walk the earth like that to this day. And if you want to talk about the supernatural things like teleportation or whatever that is, whatever you want to call that, you'd have to be completely present. Your surroundings would have to be completely present, completely natural for you to even teleport from one place to the other, because you would get scrambled if it wasn't. If you come into a cultivated jungle, such as the Amazon or any of these jungles, because they've all been cultivated, these are large permaculture food forests or food gardens. If you come in through these fragmented forests, then you come in fragmented. It's just the same way as if you come in through a fragmented mother or father. If they've been compromised, you come in compromised. So, because everybody is a tree of life. So, you know, if a tree of life is eating other reproductive parts of another tree, then they'll be eating their vital energy, their orgasmic energy, creative energy, or sexual chi, whatever, that will be eaten. That's another thing too. Another point I like to harp on is that if you are making people come, if you're receiving that orgasmic energy from someone, even if you're tantric with your sex and you don't release, you're still accepting that energy. So then you're eating them. Something has to eat you because now you have this excess of chi. So it's this whole process of dominoes where you eat them, something eats you, then you become hungry for 3D food. And yeah, that's really about it. It's really just respect and realizing the perfection of everything and how complete you are and how complete everything is, and then doing, not doing, and the process of undoing is more so the process of allowing the perfection to manifest itself. So 2020 Tantra, Crown Tantra, info in the description. 38 PDFs, 3 audiobooks. Email me. Thank you.